Hey.
Too slow.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Meeting the Shoe. I'm Nina.
Hi, and I'm Sade.
And happy 2021.
Yes.
Okay, so today's episode is going to be about death, grieving, and funerals.
Oh, yeah.
During the pandemic, we experienced a whole lot of pain.
Yes.
Like, everybody had a story up and down Facebook, up and down Instagram, up and down Twitter, all on the news, pertaining to death, pertaining to COVID, and even not just COVID, just regular domestic violence, family arguments, you know what I'm saying, resulting into violence, like so much violence. So we want to talk to y'all about preventions and things you can do to get through experiencing death, experiencing funerals. Like, every time you turn around, you'll see a GoFundMe going up and down your page, or someone sending out a text that a loved one has died and can you help with the funeral.
Right.
Now, being as though you experienced some trauma last year, you know, with the death of your grandmother, can you tell the viewers a little bit about what that was like, preparing, first of all, accepting death, being as though from your grandma, because nobody never wants, especially those loving, good, caring grandmothers that's always on you and always just giving you that big hug, making it feel better, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
When nobody else can, right? So what can you tell the viewers or help them with that would prepare them for when a loved one passes, what they can do as far as life insurance and what they should or shouldn't spend on a funeral, and you know, what was the process and the steps that, let's start with when it started zeroing down on her. Take us back.
Gosh, well, it was at first it was a long progress. My grandmother has dementia, so
and what is dementia like?
Dementia is
how do you, as being a loved one and you being the care giver, how did you patient wise put your mind and soul into, this is what I got to do for grandma? Right.
At the beginning, I mean, I didn't know what dementia was or anything like that. I heard of Alzheimer's, but I didn't know it was kind of like a connection to it. My grandmother never even mentioned that she had it. You know what I'm saying? I guess she was probably in denial. I'm quite sure her doctor was telling her you in Alzheimer's or dementia phase or something like that. Because I would go to the Twin Cities like 6-7 years ago when I was in college, and I go by and see her and stuff. She cooking old food. I'm like, Grandma, what you doing? This ain't right. She's like, ain't nothing wrong with that food. Or she had water, you know, unthawed chicken in the sink and the water overflowing the kitchen. Girl, it was just terrible. I'm like, Grandma, you cannot stay here by yourself anymore. So my mom moved and went on to Nigeria. So I moved her out. You know, I'm like, we packed all her stuff up, whatever we could take with us, and brought her back to Rochester. And she's been with us for 5-6 years. Okay. And I could see the progression. It's just a terrible way to see somebody go, you know.
And you guys took on her as a whole, you, your husband, and the children, right? Okay.
Yeah, and if I didn't have them, I wouldn't have never been able to do it by myself. Not at all. Not at all.
So how did the kids of them being, you know, younger adults and, you know, teen at the time, how did they adjust and convert to becoming, man, we got to take care of grandma?
I know. Well, grandma was in the house. I think Kiki was 14 or they were like 15 and 14 years old. Okay. And grandma, I brought grandma. I said, well, at least grandma could help me while I work, because she was able to watch them. You know what I'm saying? She'll tell her everything they do. You know what I'm saying? But it was like a child. She'd be like, come here so I can whoop your butt. You know what I'm saying? I see y'all sneaking people in and stuff like that. So, and she was able to cook when she first came. So I'm like, maybe if I have all the food prepared, she can be able to serve them. So she was still doing stuff like that. Okay. She can walk and clean the house. So one year she just fell on her head and bust her head and stuff, and ever since then you see the decline. She had a stroke after that. Just stuff going on in her life, and once Kiara turned 17 or so, Kiara became her PCA.
Okay.
Because they were saying she needed someone to watch her now.
Right,
and
right.
I'm like, I couldn't do it. I was already working a job and 2 jobs and opening up the business. It was kind of hard for me. So Kiara became her PCA.
Okay.
And that was her job, and she would watch her and stuff like that.
And when she was a PCA, I know that's a personal care assistant, right? And so what was her duties, or what did she have to do being as though she's living in the house with you guys?
Right. At the beginning, she would cook for Grandma.
Okay.
And Grandma would just go to the table, eat her food and stuff, or, she'll serve her. Okay. She'll do her hair, little stuff. It started off little. Okay. But as it progressed, it's to the point where we had to start, she's pooping herself. And, okay. Incontinent. So Kiara was still keeping up where, okay, Grandma, we're going to go to the bathroom every 2 hours. So she would make sure she go to the bathroom. Even when Grandma stopped walking this last year, Grandma would not walk at all. So Kiara still is like, you got to stand up. We're going to change you out and stuff like that. So Kiara wanted so bad to make her use the bathroom. Right. And we already know she's been wearing diaper for like 3-4 years. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, or pull up. And I mean, to that point in, let's see, what month was this? April, in the midst of the pandemic, everything shut down. We ended up having to call her to the hospital. Ambulance come get her. She stayed in the hospital for like 2 days. They said she's not walking. I'm like, okay, maybe she's going to rehab. So they worked on it at rehab at Mayo Clinic, and they were like, it's far beyond Mayo Clinic. I'm like, what do you, rehab? I'm like, what do you mean? And they were saying, well, she is not walking. That means she's in dementia, her 7C stage dementia. Okay. And I'm holding the phone like 7C stage dementia. What the? I said, what are you telling me? He said, only thing I can recommend to you is putting her in hospice. Wow. I said, well, hospice means death, don't it? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait a minute, hospice means, what are you telling me? So he was like, well, she's declining. She's going to get to a point where she's not going to even sit up in the bed. She's toppling over. You know what I'm saying? Going to like childlike form. And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, well, can she do hospice at home? Because I didn't think they would let anyone in the hospitals, or I'm already had to, only one person can go to the hospital and see Grandma when I was going up there to feed her, taking a break from work and going to feed her. And he was like, well, I don't know about what hospice doing, but you can do hospice at home. I'm like, okay, fine. So they set up, the nurses came, had bed, set everything up for her to come to the house. She comes home. Grandma eating like a pig. I said, oh, they just talking out the side of their neck. They don't know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So Grandma eating her fried chicken. She's still eating and, talking and having a good time with us and holidays. And all of a sudden in October, she stopped eating. It was like she would probably eat a little puree. Everything was pureed. Kiara just start pureeing on everything. Like vegetable soup, whatever, and give it to her. 1 minute she might eat breakfast, but don't eat for the rest of the day. Wow. Or she won't eat breakfast, but she'll eat later on in the afternoon, and that's it. 1 meal a day. Okay. And it's not even all of it. So in the beginning of November, I come upstairs, I groom her, change her, wash up, put her clothes on. We're getting ready to eat oatmeal. So I'm trying to feed her oatmeal. She's just holding it in her mouth. I'm like, Grandma, what are you doing? I said, you're supposed to, you got to eat your food. Right. And she's just looking at me. And then all of a sudden, she started freezing up, doing like this. And I'm like, trying to get the food out of her mouth. I'm thinking I'm probably choked her or anything. I'm like, Grandma, what? Clapping my hands. So I call my husband up. He run up. And she's just stiff. And I can't even move her. I said, oh my God. He's like, I think she probably had a seizure. So we called the hospice nurse. Hospice nurse come like 2 hours later. By meantime, me and my husband just put her in the bed, make sure she's cleaned up, and let her lay there and watch TV. And she just still looking at me, not talking. I'm like, Grandma, I could see her trying to talk through her eyes, but she couldn't get nothing out her voice. She couldn't say nothing. I'm like, this is not like her. This is Tuesday. It was Tuesday. And so the nurse got there around 1 o'clock. And I'm trying to get dressed to come to work because mind you, I already changed all my clients to afternoon, evening. So Kiara came over and talked to the nurse, and I run up the stairs, I hear the nurse say, well, she only has this much time left. I'm like, wait a minute, I bust through the door. I'm like, what did you just say? She said, she's transitioned over. Wow. So she only has 2 days to a week left. I'm like, how do you know that? She said the rhythm of her breathing,
right,
how her heart is beating, and just looking at her eyes, and just I just couldn't even grasp. I'm like, I just couldn't believe it. So I get off work, come home Tuesday night. She's breathing heavy, where you can see her chest just rising. And she did that for 2 days. So I'm busy trying to feed her, a little Pedialyte in a syringe, or she was not taking it. And the nurse came back Wednesday, said, don't force feed her. She's okay. I said, she's starving. You know what I'm saying? I said, I'm still trying to feed her. And there's like, you just doing more harm. She don't need any food right now. She's transitioned over to where her body is feeding off herself. She's getting all the nutrients from her body. Okay, I'm like, okay. So they called Thursday, come by. It's getting worse. I'm not sleeping at all. And I'm still trying to go to work. Friday morning, they called, said, we have room in the hospice house. Because I was praying to God. I'm like, Lord, I can't take it. I can't
watch her die.
Watch her.
Right. That's the just accepting that, yes. Just
sit up there and die.
Right.
So I'm like, Lord, just open up a bed for her.
Right,
and they called me Friday, like, we can come get her today or Saturday.
Right.
I said, well, can you come get her Saturday? So I called all loved ones. I called the family and like, y'all need to get over here and talk to grandma, see her. I don't care about Corona right now. Just wear y'all masks when y'all get here.
Right.
And everybody came and saw her and singing to her, saying their last goodbyes. And Saturday they picked her up and
so
she was in hospice house.
Being as though you you accepted it, and do you believe that come through, that was the Spirit of the Lord telling you to go into the grieving stage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was grieving already.
Okay.
Once they came and got it, I was like, it's over, and sometimes it's hard for us to let go of our loved ones because we think they should live forever. Grandma's 89 years old, so.
And lived a beautiful, long life. Like 89, that's a long time.
So I mean,
wow,
a lot of us mourn, and I didn't know it's a difference mourning and grieving, and it's a difference mourning that you could just mourn for a little bit, a day or hour or so, but grieving is a lifetime.
Right.
And this is a way that we grieve, and we have to do that in a positive manner that does not harm us.
Right.
As the caregivers or the loved ones that's taking care of the person that's passing on to the next life or that's dead. So
how do you feel the stage that you're at now, being it's been 2 months?
Yeah. I still feel her presence in the house.
Okay.
And I went into the room one time with my cousin. We cleaned up a little bit. She still got stuff in the room. But every time the first 2 weeks, every time I go past the room, I get bust out of tears.
Right. Okay.
But now it's not like I don't do it, but I'm doing it now. But
right, yes, because you have you're letting the viewers know what it's like being a a caregiver, and then no one wants to see their elders leave. They're the ones that have made us be very comfortable in the world, what I'm saying? Yeah. And they have, made us, be the people that we are. Our elders are, they form us into being the human beings that we are, Each generation takes care of the next generation, right? And so we want to let you guys know that there was a guy that we had put on our Instagram. He was a counselor for funeral homes, right? And he describes in very, very good detail about what you should do when it comes to putting your family away.
Right.
But what he didn't feel comfortable with was taking your money knowing that you're not going to be able to pay your rent the next day.
Right.
So his suggestion was that you should not spend over $5,000. $3,000 would be a good funeral. $5,000 would be like the perfect funeral, right? And so he described in graphic details about when he tells you that the casket will be, in vacuum sealed
the vault.
Yeah. And that your jury would just be ringling around in there. They don't steal jury, but his goal was to, if you said that you had $30,000 to spend, he was going to get every dime of it. He was going to raise the price on you. So you guys have to keep that in mind when it comes to planning a funeral and preparing for death. You know, none of us wants to do that. No. None of us wants to, but you live to die. You definitely do. And the thing about it is, when you go to a funeral, you're there to pay respects. You're giving the last presentation of your loved one in the body for respect, not to go in debt. So always remember that. It is for respect, not to go in debt. And the funeral services, right? The families of the people that run a funeral home always know their goal is to pass their business and their company down to their next generation. If you have life insurance, if you have life insurance and your loved ones have life insurance, it is for you to live on, you to live that name on, you to become greater and better as, you know, you being here on earth. It is not to go all out lavish, to spend everything on them because they're gone. You know, so it's a conversation that needs to be had, especially being as though we've experienced so much this year with COVID and so many people dying. You know, so much violence happening and so many people instantly just passing away. People can't take it, mental health issues, just dying or killing themselves. So if we're experiencing so much death, it's definitely something that you have to sit back and think about. Right.
That's why I was when I was planning for Grandma's funeral. He was saying all this outlandish money, $13,000-$15,000, and I'm looking at him like, what? But
and why was he saying that he wanted you to spend that much?
Because of this casket cost this much. You had to have the vault. You had to have the liner. You have to have the opening of the grave, makeup and hair, just the procession, the person to speak at the funeral, the event room, and
hair,
just listening
makeup,
to all
clothes.
that. You know what I'm saying?
Did they provide that?
I provide that clothes. And my daughter wanted to do her makeup, so they kind of cut the cost down from that. My cousin did her hair, so that was perfect. And then we had to have, because of COVID, you had to have so many people only in there. I'm like, why would I spend a room on an event room? I can't have a repast of this many, 10 people? It has to be close family in your house and all that type of stuff. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna do a nice funeral, but just not spend a lot of money. So she looked beautiful. It was nice. We got it done and over with. I mean, it's just really hard to just, I know one thing, don't even spend a lot of money on me. I'm telling you. Because it doesn't make sense to have
do the bare minimum of what you're supposed to do, No. Just get it over with and nice flowers, have my makeup cute, have my clothes nice and decent, my hair done. That's it. Because somebody, these days and age, it used to be back in the day, people didn't take pictures. This is a picture-taking world right now. Yes.
And you know what? And I feel like
this generation is bad.
If you're not a public figure or somebody higher up, okay, they have large, nice, big funerals and spend lavishly on their caskets and stuff because they're public figures.
Right.
But if you were the average person, the average Joe, don't go out your way to try and make other people see that you look good.
Right.
For what?
Right. It's a waste of time. It's definitely a waste of time. So we just wanted to catch up with y'all. It's been so far, okay, we are how many days in now?
6 days into 2021.
Yep. And so far so good. You know what I'm saying? There has been some death that has come across, our timeline. And how has COVID touched you? Have you had anyone that has had COVID?
Oh my God! I know a couple of people that actually at least 2 people that actually died from COVID.
Okay. And I've had 2 people die. I think maybe 3. And here's the same thing why I'm saying 3, because another thing we want to touch with you all is that they keep on saying every time somebody goes to the hospital, they're making it that it's COVID related, right? They just get lazy. You just got COVID. You just got COVID. So that's another important message that we want to get out there. Always make sure you check the paper. Check the paperwork, because everybody isn't dying from COVID.
Right.
You know, everybody isn't getting sick from COVID either. And like they say, there's so many systematic, some people get it and they don't get sick. That they don't know they're sick. Some people get it and they don't get sick at all, and that's the asymptomatic. And then the ones that get it and they're not hospitalized. So you always gotta remind yourself that every single time that a person tells you something, you always got to do your research.
Yes. Do your research.
Yes. So make sure you check in with us every Monday morning.
Yes. Thank you
for tuning in to another episode of Meet the Shoe.